Hi, you guys. Hey, friends, how are you? I'm coming back. You know what? I was kind of surprised that, being in this migraine fog, I just realized I never took any medication for it. I have some really great stuff that I use homeopathically, with homeopathic medicine to manage. And then my pressure point. Of course, I've lost my C-bands again, but those are really critical because it kind of helps manage the vertigo that I get before it. But I'm like kind of proud because I never took any of my migraine stuff, didn't have my C-bands, and I'm like doing this well, even though it's like in that fog. I'm still coming out of it. I'm having a hard time kind of stringing my words and thoughts together. Because this is kind of like a big thing that came to me last night, which evolved into 8 different throws and spreads for clarifications. And it has to do with big data, Facebook looking at you, social media, and the election. And it starts with Nancy Pelosi. Also, I just want to say a really big, giant thank you, you guys, for all your support and love and your recommendations and ideas for migraines. I know I'm kind of obsessed with this topic, but ever since I committed to this topic with my guides and having this channel, it's just full steam ahead. Okay, and so last night I tried getting this to words, even though it brilliantly makes sense to me on paper notes. Trying to bring that down into words in a format and in a way that makes sense. Still a little bit of a challenge, so I'm going to try again. Also, I've been kind of going back in my timeline, and because Pelosi knew everything before Epstein was arrested on July 6th. Now, remember, I think the weekend prior, that's when, around the time when Mueller said he wasn't going to do, maybe he made that statement of, his first little statement publicly. And Nadler had some comments about impeachment. But they timed that with that kind of ratcheting up the stress for Donald. And it really, really did, because around that time, that's when he was at the G20 and then goes off to North Korea, Mr. Hero, because Putin told him to go. I mean, that was nuts. I still have that. That was crazy. And so I just kind of am giggling in the background because I'm like, Nancy knew what she was doing then. And even then, that's when she was very adamant. No impeachment. No impeachment. Well, she was still lining up the stressors for Donald and just playing them one at a time. And also at the time, the only way we could keep the topic of impeachment alive in the media was for Nancy to say no impeachment, because then the media talked about it all the time, right? Because if she had said impeachment, now they're at the whataboutism. What about this? What about that? Should they, shouldn't, So it's just, she did it the right way. So let's get back to this spread that I have here. So I started, I don't even know where the original question was, because I posted on the discussion tab, hey, you guys, look up the boss of all bosses. I'm only going to say I'm just going to say Semyon. He is the boss of Putin. He's the boss of anyone related to Trump. Furthermore, I think Mrs. Mucha and Marilyn my M&Ms, I think they've posted some really nice links on the discussion tab if you guys want some more information about him. I have a cute little thing about MMs. Now that we're saying that, my thing number one, child number one, could not say watermelon when they were little, and they used to say wawoo MMs. So whenever you guys, I see M&M, I just think about the wawoo MM. But anyway, I digress. So it's no coincidence that Semyon was coming into mind. Also, the Koch brothers. As I was digging through that information, the boss of all bosses, so the people tied to the Koch brothers are also tied to Semyon, Republican Party. I mean, this is huge. This is big. And so this spread, I started wanting to check in with people. This is where this originated. And I was like, I'll check in with Nancy because it's been a while. Actually, a lot of people, I've kind of backed off that part and with the daily updates with a lot of them. And so originally, this spread, you will see, I thought because the Page of Swords was the card of the reading, I thought that this person was the person in the death chart of Jeffrey Epstein. If you remember, there was Mercury that entered the cell first around 4:30 a.m., and that was the Page of Swords. And so just coming off that whole thing that I did, I assumed that's who this was. No, it wasn't. I got through this whole thing, and then I just did some clarifiers to figure out who was who. This ends up, this is Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg, for me, has shown up as Page of Swords. Again, here he is. No doubt about it. He also, Facebook shows up for me as the Seven of Swords. Or is it the Seven Wands? No, I think it's well, you'll see. I can't remember if it's the swords or the wands. But anyway, it's the one where you're fighting back. And the reason, I think it's the Seven Wands. The reason why Facebook is the Seven Wands is because they always have the upper hand. Whether it's the propaganda or trying to change your mind about any topic, they always have the upper hand because they know who you are. They have their algorithms or psychographic information about you, so they know ahead of time before you do what you want to see, what you want to read, and what triggers and what emotions that it's going to evoke from you. They have all that information. So this reading, the question I had with this reading was, Speaker Pelosi, please, what are the important things that you're up to right now? And so for the signifier, I had the Knight of Wands. So that's someone who's taking action now. Taking action about Mark Zuckerberg. This person is covered in lots and lots of messaging, and it's all coming really, really fast. The challenge for this person is, actually this one was Temperance. I thought it was reversed, but it's not. But the challenge for her with this person is blending this, trying to integrate it, keeping a balance with all this information that's coming out having to do with Mark Zuckerberg. At the base of this is the Five of Pentacles. This, for me, when you think about Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, this is about voter suppression. That they get all the data, because data is also represented as pentacles. It's as valuable or more valuable than money. I mean, data is literally worth its weight in gold to them. So at the base of this has to do with voter suppression, where people couldn't vote. And like I've said before, I wasn't given a ballot when I went to go vote in 2016. I've had really weird things happen with social media and my mobile phone. That's why privacy for me is so important and why I won't reveal myself, because I still have some weird things happening. But when I gave them my ID and my voter registration card and I checked in, they wouldn't give me a ballot because the little computer there with the I think this is related to the e-polling books, and no one is talking about whether or not the e-polling books have been hacked. They had to have been, because the e-polling books are what check you in, and that's the thing that gives you your ballot. So when I gave them my information, they wouldn't give me a ballot because they needed an authorization code from this little machine that dialed up to give an authorization code to give me a ballot. And so I asked to see an election supervisor, and she told me, and mind you, this place I've been going to forever. They have this place running like clockwork. I love these people at this polling place. And she just seemed really frenzied and just off balance and frustrated, irritated, and some anger surfacing. But she said, our election supervisor isn't here. And I asked if she knew when she would return. No, because they had been having this problem all day long. Ballots, people being rejected ballots because the authorization code wasn't working. They couldn't get an authorization code back. And so she said that the election supervisor was at meetings about this, didn't know when she was going to come back. So I could not wait for hours and hours on end. I left. I didn't get a ballot. Which, fast forward 3-4 years later, I'm reading tarot cards because of that. So anyway, this has to do with voter suppression. It's related to data. If your state was hacked and their voter databases were hacked, that's another way to find out personal information to suppress a vote. I mean, how easy was that for them? What's crowning this? The Eight of Swords. This is my card for what the Trump campaign with social media, propaganda, information war did to Hillary Clinton in 2016. They got all the information. Look at, she is just surrounded by an information war. She cannot move. You know, she's blind. We know she can like move and stuff, but she can only get this far in the information war, and that's it. And the thing is, nobody could see it because it's invisible. We just thought they were trolls. You know, no one could really understand what was going on because we were just engulfed and still are engulfed in this garbage. But this is what's crowning her the important things for her: dealing with Mark Zuckerberg, the suppression of voters, and how they were able to bind up Hillary Clinton and her voters. Because in the past, hey Jared, this is Jared. Jared offered, you know, he was a go-between with money. He is always the money guy. Even into the Trump administration now, he's the one that's always bringing money back and forth. That's why he travels so much. He has to do the negotiating and the deals. That's why he is like our Secretary of State. He has to work on the interior. He's doing the Middle East piece because it's all transactional. So in the past, Nancy knows Jared offered money, did money with foreign governments. In the future, it's going to show all of the bribes and the money laundering and all the illegal financial activities. How we see Pelosi? She is coming quick, and she is on the defense for America. She is out there and ready to go. The environment, this is interesting. It's the Hermit. It is investigation. We have the G7 coming up. Look at our 9th house, Putin's house. It's also the house of long distance travel, so the G7 is far away. The United States of America, we drew the Hermit reversed. The Hermit reversed is like a forced isolation. Donald drew the Fool. So the environment is one of investigations on behalf of Speaker Pelosi. So what are her hopes when she's thinking about Zuckerberg? She hopes that she gets the information that she wants about the 2016 election. She fears that someone else will get to him and they won't be able to, get the information and do the things that she needs to do. But ideally, what she wants to come forth is the agreements that Zuckerberg had and the agreements that she has, I believe, with Jared and implicitly with Zuckerberg, because I've seen her in the past having conversations with Zuck, and Zuck was always like on the fence, just too arrogant to be bothered about anything. And what's to come? That's my Paul Manafort card. It's also the mafia. This whole mafia that surrounds, transnational mafia that surrounds Trump and all these international elections that were at the core. I call them the Six Wands mob, the people who are at the core of using data and rolling elections to the far right. That's Trump, Putin, Xi, Kim Jong-un, MBS/MBZ, and Netanyahu. This is important because last week Donald had received another love letter from Kim Jong-un. And I've done some readings on what's in that big letter. It's a video that's marked lower than 100. There's a couple of them, and I think I even asked Steve Mnuchin. I was calling him Stoven Mnuchin at the time. So this is where this all started, and I've got 8 spreads that this evolves into. Okay, let's get to the next part.